beautiful brothers and sisters to the Aquarian Adepts, my platform, our platform, to become your spiritual server. And welcome Gemini Sun, Gemini Moon, and Gemini Rising to part 2 of your July 2018 report. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. And at the time of me making it, this video is the 28th, so including today, we only have 4 more days left in the month. So this is going to function more as a recap of the energies and kind of the energies that you're going to be playing with going into the month of August. So more than likely, when I do the August reports, it'll be after next week. So it'll be kind of like that first week of August where I do part 1. So this is really going to apply for, the remainder of the weekend and flowing into next week, this report. Yes, at the time of me making this, we are coming off a major eclipse. Oh my goodness, the full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius, the blood moon, the longest eclipse in over a century. And how very applicable, because a lot came to the surface from this lifetime, past lifetimes, and my cat moving my tripod because he wants to rub up on it and he wants my attention. Hey buddy, I'm making a video. Can I make my video, please? Let's see what's going on for you guys. We have Gaia. Interesting. Very good. Gaia. The frequency of Gaia reminds us that we are infinitely connected to one another, just as we are to our great mother and to the universe that birthed us all. I believe Virgo also got this card, so it's no surprise to me that you would draw this Gemini, because you and Virgo, Gemini and Virgo is a very karmic relationship. It's a very karmic connection. And let's see this eclipse that we just had, for you. That was your 9th house, right? So this has to do with your belief structure, education, knowledge, wisdom. I like to say that your sense of hope and kind of where you aim for in life. Where Capricorn is kind of like the mountain that you climb. Sagittarius, the 9th house, naturally ruled by Sagittarius, is you kind of pulling back the arrow and kind of aiming where you're going. So right now what you're aiming at is understanding and feeling into this connection to Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, and knowing that everything is transforming. So for you, Gemini, it's kind of interesting that a lot of what you have believed to be true is shifting forever. That's because we all are going through this massive transformation. You, me, the collective at large, and Mother Gaia. So let's see what else we have going on for you. The second half of July, heading into that first week of August. And we have a couple of cards that just kind of flew out. Alright. I like it when cards fly out. So those 4 cards kind of just came, and then we have one more card that's face down. Let's look at the face down card first. The face down card is the 10 of Swords. So something is certainly coming to an abrupt end. Something that I feel like you've kind of been anticipating, and something that you've kind of been holding on to, but kind of just accepting that whatever this is falling away. Let's see what the other cards have to say about this, though. We do have the 7 of Swords. We do have the Strength card. We do have the 10 of Cups. And we also have the Chariot. So whatever it is that's falling away, you can let go of this. What I'm seeing as, I think initially, when you let go of whatever this is, you're going to feel like whatever it is, it was just a situation that just did not do well for you. Perhaps it's a relationship, perhaps it's a job, whatever it is, this person or this event, you kind of feel they wronged you in some way. Or maybe what happened was that you outsourced your happiness to a particular person, or to a job, or to a situation. Maybe you believed that whatever thing that you were invested in, that you invested your energy in, that was going to give you happiness instead of looking within. I really feel like that's what's going on. So the universe is bringing an end to whatever this is. This is a cycle that is being broken. Alright? We have the Strength card, which is certainly asking you to find some strength. And your 3rd house is Leo. You rule the natural 3rd house. So to have a Leo 3rd house means that your mental capacities, your mental faculties, your mind and communication is very much so Leo-like, which is fixed fire. So it means that you get really, really passionate about your thoughts and what your communication. You get really, really passionate about these things. But sometimes I feel like Gemini, you can be a bit impressionable, and you kind of naturally are, right? You're mutable air, so of course you are impressionable. But it's about finding the right thought patterns and the right thought forms that's going to promote a deeper sense of connection to Mother Gaia, bringing that card back in, and to your unique story. So I think what happens, Gemini, with you is that you may have a tendency to kind of fall for some of the sensationalist themes, motifs, dramas even, because Leo very much so rules drama. And you kind of fall for these particular beliefs that you feel, and you feel this even within your heart, that it's something that you want to be invested in. But what I'm seeing with the Ten of Swords coupled with the Seven of Swords here is that perhaps you've been a little gullible. But this is asking you to find your strength, right? We also have the Ten of Cups and the Chariot. So this is actually going to bring about a sense of a deeper emotional fulfillment when you let this thing go, this Ten of Swords and the Seven of Swords, and realize that, you know what, this is not the universe backstabbing you. This isn't God backstabbing you. This isn't you receiving a bad hand. This is you learning a lesson, coming through a particular situation, and then by letting that go, it's actually going to release all of this energy that's held you down. And then with the Ten of Cups, it's going to bring about a sense of emotional fulfillment. It's going to bring about a sense of like a deeper sense of joy and happiness. And with the Chariot card here as well, which is, the card of Cancer, and it's ruled by the moon. This is asking you to really, it's amazing how this is coupled with the Strength card, because they come after each other, right, in tarot. The Strength card comes after the Chariot. So this is like you really learning to have the willpower to really live the life that you want to live, and to not outsource your power to circumstances and people. I'm not saying that all Geminis are going to quit their job or leave their relationships, but I think what's happening is that you felt like that was the only way that you were going to be happy, is that through a particular job, or that person was going to make you happy. But no, you have to go within, Gemini. You have to go within. And it's interesting because, you are the twin, the zodiac. You are the mirror. So sometimes, Gemini, it's harder for you to know who you are, because similar to Libra, you kind of figure out who you are through other people, because you mirror back to them their reflection. You mirror back to them who they are. So sometimes, Gemini, it is a little hard for you to find who you are, right? But as I've said, this is going to require you, and one of the ways that you really find out who you are is really your thought process and your thought patterns, because like I said, you do have a third house of Leo, which means that you have a very Leo mind. So, and that's fixed fire, so that deals with that eternal flame. It deals with that eternal flame. So one way that you kind of find out who you are, Gemini, is by examining your thought process. Not necessarily trying to control it, but examining it. And if you notice particular thoughts that probably lead to particular actions and behaviors that you don't necessarily like or don't necessarily resonate with you, you absolutely have the willpower to change it, right? But you have to believe in yourself, and you have to have confidence in yourself. Why? Cancer is your second house, self-worth and self-value. So in many ways, you have to listen to your emotions first. You have to kind of feel things out, the situation, and then listen to your thoughts. What are you saying to yourself? That's really what's going to allow you to push forward from this situation that you find yourself in. Let's see what else we have in store for you, Gemini. Gemini, as I like to call. I like to think of Gemini as mini gems. If you think of not that you can really pigeonhole God to a particular sign, but if I had to, I would say God was Sagittarius. So if Gemini is the opposite of Sagittarius and it's the opposite of God, Gemini, some people might say it's the double, which really the devil, at least in tarot, is Capricorn. But I like to think of Gemini as mini gods or mini gems, right? So that's the interesting thing about Gemini, is that since it is the twin, and they typically are a mirror and they reflect back to other people who they are and what society is. That's why our president Donald Trump is a Gemini. He's literally reflecting back, at least here in America. I know not all my viewers are live in America, but those of us who live here in the United States, and our president's Trump, and people are wondering, why is America so crazy? It's like, well, we have a Gemini president, so he's literally going to be reflecting back to us our collective shadow. So, yeah. But the thing is that like a gem has that reflective property, you know? So, that's what I like to think of Gemini as, mini gems. We have a couple more cards that just kind of fell out. I'm going to pull the bottom card, and I'm going to pull the top card, and I'm going to go from here. These cards all fell by themselves. These two cards fell on top of each other. Don't know if you guys saw that. This card fell by itself. So let's look at the card that was by itself. We do have the Three of Swords. Yeah, definitely some type of heartbreak that you might actually be overcoming. I don't know. I'm going to be quick to say that you're going to experience this. The other two cards here, though, we actually have the Nine of Swords and the Magician. So this could be actually you kind of been putting off a particular heartbreak for a long time. With the Nine of Swords, it usually talks about impeding one's process. It normally shows like a woman who's next to like a window, and there are like some swords across the window. And I like to think of that window as the window of opportunity. So I like to think of the Nine of Swords as the paralysis by over-analysis. So I think what's happening here, Gemini, is that you've been kind of putting off this potential heartbreak because you've been like overthinking. It's good that you have the Magician card here because that's your card. So that means that there's a potential that you maybe you just need to alter your perception on this situation to see why you may be avoiding a potential heartbreak, or whether or not it actually is a heartbreak. Maybe this person or this job or your family or whatever it doesn't have to necessarily be romantic. Perhaps it's like you have to realize that, you know, maybe they broke your expectations. This is kind of a heavy reading, but I feel like the reason why you're going through this, Gemini, is because we are in such a pressurized time to where we're all becoming crystals. And in many ways, you kind of represent, even though crystals I know are like more of like an earth property, in many ways you kind of do represent that because gem is literally in your name. But I think what this is that potentially the reason why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, that you've been kind of staving off a particular heartbreak or failed expectation, is because, you know, it's all about your perception, right? Let's see what the other two cards were. We have the Five of Swords and the Six of Wands. So this all really comes back to, we have some difficult cards here. And the Swords is not necessarily the easiest suit to deal with, even though it deals with communication and air. But we have the Three of Swords, right? We have the Five of Swords, which speaks to being on the battlefield. We have the Seven of Swords, which speaks to getting stabbed in the back. We have the Nine of Swords, which speaks to being paralyzed. And then we have the Ten of Swords, which speaks to some type of ending. But we also have the Ten of Cups, the Strength card, the Chariot, the Six of Wands, and the Magician. This all comes down to your perception, I feel. This all comes down to your perception on how things are going. And you actually have the power to really, A, heal, B, find the strength to continue moving forward, and C, feel good about who you are, your situation, and how things are going. But it's not going to come without some difficulty. And I'm going to draw some more cards because this is just kind of interesting. It really seems like this message is split down the middle. And it would be for you, Gemini. It would literally be split down the middle. What else we have here, though? Let's see. The Strength, Ten of Cups, the Chariot, Six of Wands, the Magician, Three of Swords, Five of Swords, Seven of Swords, Nine of Swords, Ten of Swords. What else do we have here? What's going on with Geminis? Because this is kind of interesting. This is very interesting. This does have, I mean, a lot of this does have to do with your perceptions and your belief structure. It really does. Then because the eclipse for you, like I said, it's in your ninth house. And Mars is there too, so you definitely might be at a battle of wits with other people. Okay, so we actually have the Seven of Pentacles that popped out, and we also have the Three of Cups. So, once again, I think the way that you get through this time, Gemini, is by learning to harvest the small celebrations, the small victories. The Three of Cups speaks to celebration, feeling good, partying up with your friends, and kind of cheersing to the moment. But what I see this as for you, Gemini, is that since this reading is so back and forth, since the energies for you are so back and forth, then it seems like a lot of what's happening is that your perception on what you believe to be true is really shifting, and you're at odds because the world is not the way that you thought it was. And think about it, your 8th house is Capricorn. So, and I see this with my own fiance because she's a Gemini rising. So Pluto is there, Saturn is there. So having those energies in your 8th house is not easy. Even though Pluto naturally rules the 8th house, that doesn't necessarily make it easy. So the way that you get through this time is by learning to appreciate the small victories, learning to appreciate the small victories, and celebrating those small victories. You know, and celebrating doesn't mean that you have to or say that say a small victory for you is that you meditated this morning and you've been trying to get into a meditative routine, and say that over the next week or two you meditate for 5 out of 7 days of the week. That's a reason to celebrate. Now, I'm not saying that what you do is you go to the club and you drink a shit ton of alcohol and dance your ass off, although you can do that, no judgments, but it's saying that you treat yourself and you learn to harvest these small victories. So small victories will really snowball into monumental change. And I think this honestly is a message for everybody. Because as far as that part, it's like we don't take time to appreciate the small victories. We don't take time to appreciate those seemingly minuscule victories and triumphs. We overlook them because we want the trophy, you know? We want the trophy. Well, we want the glitz. We want the glamour. We want the gold, you know? It's like, I know that a philosophy in some sports that some coaches have is that each week you go 1-0. And say you have 20, 30 games in a season. The goal is to go 1-0 each week. The goal isn't to be like, all right, we're 8-0 now, let's go 9-0. All right, now we won that game, now let's go 10-0. No, the goal is to go 1-0. To treat every single game as if it's the first, or as if it's the most important game of your fucking life. And that's kind of what you want to do. You want to treat your actions and the way that you feel, and even, like I said, your thought process, your behaviors, as the most important thing in your life, because it is. That's what you're doing right here in this moment. So obviously, it's the most important thing that you could possibly be doing, that your soul could possibly be doing in that given moment. Because the moment is all that ever has been and all that's ever will be. It's beautiful and divine. Woo! So learn to harvest the small victories, Gemini. And I feel like that's really what's going to get you through the next week and a half or so. Because, I mean, there are a lot of energies. There's a lot of, you're trying to weed out these self-limiting beliefs about how you thought the world was, who you thought you should be, who you think you are, what you think you should do, who you should be with, who you should spend your time with, who's going to take you to that next stage, that next platform. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of energy. But you have the power, Gemini, more so than a lot of other signs, because you are immutable, and you're immutable air. So you actually have the power to alter your perceptions and alter your thoughts. Not that anyone, I mean, we all have Gemini energy, but you have the ability to do that. And there's a great power, and people don't like to talk about it with Gemini, but there's a great power from being able to alter your thoughts and your thought patterns. Because it's from those thought patterns that we manifest. Right? I'm going to draw just a couple of more cards to end this reading. But harvest small victories, harvest small triumphs. That's what I'm listening to. The small triumphs are going to become the big triumphs. The small victories are going to become your championships. They really are. Top card, middle card, bottom card. Let's go with the bottom card first. We have the Two of Swords. So yeah, definitely some indecision coming into play here. You're trying to figure out which way to go. We have the Knight of Cups, which is asking you to, the Knight of Cups kind of wears his hearts on his sleeve and really acts based off of how he feels in his emotional sphere. And we are coming off, of course, we are in between eclipses, but we have to remember that just a few weeks ago, we did have the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, which for you is your second house, so about self-worth and self-value. So do you believe that you can emotionally manifest? Do you believe that you are worthy to go after what you want? And the middle card here is that we have the Hierophant. So become your own spiritual authority. That's really what I see this as. Become your own spiritual authority, right? Establish your own connection to the divine, And it's like, yeah, you naturally do reflect what people give you. That's what you do. You're the twin. You're the reflector. We all do this. We're all reflections, but you naturally do this. That's your forte. But what you want to do, I see this as, is learn to reflect your higher self. And when you learn to reflect your higher self, people around you will also begin to reflect their higher self, because they'll look at you as a mirror. They'll see that you're resonating and vibrating at such a high frequency that they have no choice but to resonate at that frequency as well. So learn to harvest the small victories and learn to channel and reflect your higher self, whatever that may be, whatever it looks like. Just the way that you find that, of course, is by coming into your heart space, living from that space, withholding judgments, and just know also that you are doing the best you can in your given circumstances. That is it for your reading, Gemini. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you'd like a personal reading with me, you can follow the link in the description below to the AquarianAdepts.com. And always remember, my beautiful brothers and sisters, to keep moving forward, to stay focused, and Yahoo! Smile often.